Meeting, please come to order. Yvette, please call the roll.
We have Commissioners Levine, Funderburg, Barad, and Noonan.
This proceeding is broadcast on Channel 35. The exact broadcast times can be found by contacting Channel 35. I have no opening remarks. I understand that Commissioner Barad has a funeral that she needs to attend and has to leave at about a little after 1 o'clock. So I just mentioned that in the hopes that we'll be able to be done with anything that requires action by the time that she has to leave. General public comments. I understand we have one comment card.
Yes, that's correct. Myra Soto. Please limit your comments to 2 minutes.
Good morning, everyone. So my name is Myra Soto, and I'm a community organizer with Pacoima Beautiful. And I'm also here with the Repower LA Coalition, which includes organizations like Pacoima Beautiful. And we've been doing a lot of outreach for DWP solar rooftop programs across Los Angeles. And since the program has been implemented, we've been door knocking, bringing a lot of sign-up sheets to our events, encouraging our members to, really be able to apply to this program. And since January, we've signed up 10 folks to the program, but so far none of them have qualified. A lot of them have been rejected for various reasons, like roof issues and bills that have been past due. We really think it's a good program, but we feel like it's not really able to serve the vast majority of low-income ratepayers. What we found is that when we were talking to folks across the city, people really want to see a solar program that renters are able to qualify for and get benefits from. On Saturday, our coalition is coming together to work on a policy platform in which we're going to be discussing how to expand the solar program. And that's going to be really our big focus. The event is called our DWP Community Convening, and it will be taking place at the Amazon Senior Center at Expo Center. And it's going to be this Saturday from 10 a.m. to 2 p.m. We're expecting more than 50 community members to be in attendance. And I know some of y'all are going to be there, so we look forward to seeing some of you there. So thank you.
Thank you. That's great. Thank you for making that announcement and statement. I need to return to my opening remarks. I apologize. If there's no objection, I will do that. Very briefly, as part of the contract with Aventador Utility Solutions that was approved a few weeks ago, the board determined that it wanted to establish an ad hoc committee to meet quarterly and to review the work performed and the work plan of future work efforts. I understand that we need to formally establish that committee, and I'm recommending that it be the chair and vice chair of the board. I also wanted to be explicit in that this ad hoc committee would not discuss anything related to the PwC case. If for any reason there is a need to do that, I will excuse myself from committee membership at that time. I don't anticipate that that will be necessary. If there are no objections to the composition, we'll move forward with this new ad hoc committee. Are there any objections? Hearing none, we will move forward. Great, thank you. GM report.
Just an introduction today. I wanted to introduce our new Assistant General Manager of Marketing and Economic Development, Mike Basich. Mike, if you'd just please stand.
Mike wouldn't be from Riverside, would he?
Who'd have thought? I think I've stolen the last great person from Riverside. And Mike was in charge of all brand, marketing and customer service and economic development and branding in Riverside. And I will just give you kind of a very short example of what happened there. When he started about 18 years ago, half the people of Riverside didn't know that Riverside Public Utilities served them their electricity and water. By the time he left, there was award-winning customer service. In fact, we used the same survey person here and said RPU and one other utility in the U.S. were the highest customer service satisfaction utilities. Marketing and collateral materials were award-winning, and virtually the entire customer base actually knew who served them their power and water, which is pretty important and pretty pretty necessary from a branding, and the branding is important because then that turns to program participation, economic development, energy efficiency, water conservation. So he will be in charge, again, of marketing, of branding, of economic development, and it'll dovetail great with Assistant General Manager Joe Romalo, whose title will be Assistant General Manager for Communications, Media Relations, and Community Affairs. So he'll focus on that, that kind of more community, neighborhood councils, HOA relations, community partnerships, construction projects, political relations, sponsorships. And the two of them will work together with Sharon, again, to completely move forward and upward, if I could use that term, in customer relations and marketing. We are community owned, and we really want to be involved with our community and our customers, and a lot more proactive in our marketing, branding, and promotion of efficiency and conservation programs. So, thank you.
Terrific. You will get no disagreement. You and he will get no disagreement from this board on those issues. Comments from commissioners on agendized items and requests from commissioners relating to departmental operations. Commissioner Barad.
Thank you. I just wanted to commend Jason Stinnett, who is the Valley Neighborhood Council Liaison for Community Affairs for DWP, who attended our Valley Alliance of Neighborhood Councils meeting last Thursday night and gave an update about issues in the department. But when the questions came, there were a lot of questions, and I was so glad that Jason was there. He did a great job. And the president of Northridge East Neighborhood Council asked specifically about the transformer fire in Northridge. And this is the important part. The next day, Jason sent an email to the president of that neighborhood council explaining that the analysis was still being conducted, but that he would keep updating him on more information. And I think this is what we mean when we talk about DWP and outreach, working with the community. And I think by Jason being there and answering, this puts a face on DWP. And I just want to give a shout out to Jason. Thank him very much.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Make sure he hears that.
Ratepayer advocate.
No comments on any items today, except for some brief comments at the close of one of the presentations.
Okay. We will move to management reports. And the first one is equity metrics.
And Santilli Financial Services, we have John Chen and Aditya Sharma to give us an update from our last discussion on equity metrics and the rate metrics.
We do have speaker cards for this one.
You want to say something? Commissioner Funderburk.
Good morning. Good morning. I asked President Levine for the opportunity to say a few words about the department's equity metrics data initiative ahead of John Chen's report, both to thank a few people for all of their hard work and to underscore once again how important this is to our city and our customers, because it will begin the process of returning real value to all of our citizens for their hard-earned dollars. We all remember the commitments we made to our 1.4 million customers in the rate increase proposal last year, and to Mayor Garcetti as it takes the policies he is so committed to and makes them real where it counts. Down at the street level for real families and real people, making sure that everyone benefits and shares alike in the services of the city. We started this journey well over a year ago. Our department, your department, engage customers, vendors, neighborhood council leaders, political leaders in the city, our own employees at all levels, and many other interested and involved stakeholders in coming up with a way to do this, to make sure the goals of the mayor and of this board are carried out efficiently, effectively, and in the best interests of the DWP and those 1.4 million rate-paying customers. In August of 2016, last year, this Equity Metrics Data Initiative was adopted by this board. For that, I'd like to thank our board president, Mel Levine, whose commitment to keeping this effort moving and on track was so important, and our general manager, Dave Wright, and the senior management team who are guiding the effort. And I must extend a special thanks to Commissioner Noonan. She was quick to see the potential and threw herself into it in spite of all the demands on her time. In light of all the hard work and at times brilliant insights that make possible the progress we are going to hear about today from Mr. Chen, I also must extend a special thanks to Nancy Sutley and her team, especially to Aaron Gross, Mark Sedlacek, and Jordan Geese. They got it right, working with all of the Callan Virus Screen 3.0 data sets. And in addition, the procurement group with Gwen Williams and Karen Sun, compiling historic procurement data, as well as Shannon Pasquale and the HR group, and finally Joe Romalo and Wendy Yancey, and the entire communications team and government relations team on doing the outreach. We now have most of the data, the metrics, in hand, as we all hear from Mr. Chen, since it was already there in our records and needed to be gathered up and compiled. Mr. Chen did this with grace, style, and a conscientiousness that has inspired and given confidence to all of us in the accuracy of his findings. Why does this matter? Let's remind ourselves, the department puts a large part of ratepayers' dollars into water and power, infrastructure, reliability, and safety. Is every part of the city aging at the same rate? Or is it, as some have said, that breakdowns and quality problems seem to be happening more and more often in some areas than others? What do the actual numbers say? We're now finding out for everyone to know. The department offers, as all agree it should, a number of incentives and services intended to make life better for all of us. Are those being shared in by our customers living in multi-unit apartment buildings, as often as those in single-family homes, or by those in neighborhoods in one part of the city, as often as those in another neighborhood? As we like to believe is the case, or is it, as some believe, that there are imbalances? We are now finding out for everyone to know. The department depends heavily on outside vendors and contractors to keep things running smoothly for all of our customers. Is the competition among these providers all it could be? Does the small company have as much of a shot as the big company to win a contract? What if the company is owned by a veteran or a woman or by any number of others who have often faced daunting hurdles just to get to sit at the table with the big dogs? Is everyone getting a fair shot, or is it, as some say, a deck stacked in favor of the big dogs? We're now finding out for everyone to know, and John Chen's going to tell us. The department is also a big employer, putting ratepayers' dollars to work in ways everyone can understand, benefiting not only our customers, but also our entire city in the way hiring, training, and promotions are all on level playing field for everyone, regardless of the things we can all point to that make each of us different. But is that true? Certainly we believe it to be true. We want to believe it to be true. Certainly we work hard to make sure it's true, in word and in practice. Or is it, as all commissioners at one point, especially Commissioners Barad, Vasquez, on gender, only true for some people, some of the time, in only some ways? The actual numbers drawn from the department's own records don't lie. And on this too, we are now finding out for everyone to know. With the numbers in hand, again, as Mr. Chen is going to speak to, we now turn to some pretty obvious statements that all of our ratepayers want to know the answers to. Are we doing a good job in every area? More likely, the question will be, where can we do better? Does it make sense to prioritize any changes needed by geographic area, Are there some places where the power goes out more often than in others? Where the water seems to suffer more frequent bouts of being bad tasting? Where and in what neighborhoods can we do better for our ratepayers? How are we doing in our goal of being a level playing field for all citizens and reflecting the city as Mayor Tom Bradley inspired us with his directives when he came to office decades ago? Can we look to other members of the city family to avoid reinventing the wheel, to provide resources to ensure success in sharpening the department's competitive advantage? Do the naysayers have a point, and if so, in what parts of the department operation? Where, and importantly, how can we do better? Mayor Garcetti has set a high bar. This board has not only committed to meeting that bar, but has now adopted the Equity Metrics Data Initiative program to give us just the right tool. First, to get the numbers out on the table for everyone to see, and then to begin the process of making sure we truly understand what do those numbers mean and what makes the most sense in terms of coming up with practical, workable, and efficient solutions where solutions are needed. So John, take it away. Let's hear what you have to say.
But before you take it away, we have two speaker cards. Let's hear from them.
The first speaker is Kent Minal, and after that will be Jasmine Vargas.
Yeah, good morning, Commissioners. I'm Kent Minal. I volunteer with the Sierra Club. We're eagerly anticipating the presentation regarding rates and equity metrics here. Our work in Watts is constantly expanding the community's awareness of the transition to clean energy that's happening here and around the world. And the characteristic feeling in Watts is, well, we're always left out. But I think this past weekend we started to see a bit of change in that, especially since DWP presented its best face in Watts with an excellent presentation from the Charge Up LA program and the water service. And Commissioner Funderburk, you are fantastic. Commissioner Funderburk spent about 3 hours at the event and just talked with everybody, from community leaders to children to parents and grandparents. It was just great to have you there and to see what you did. And there's a determination on the part of leaders there not to be left out of this transition. We'll all be agitating for expanded EV charging infrastructure in Watts, especially DC fast chargers, and we'll be following up on DWP engineer Yaman Nani's draft proposal for a modified community solar project at one of the churches in Watts, which both of those initiatives should be great ways to redress an already established inequity. Thank you so much. I'm very eager to hear the presentation.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Jasmine Vargas.
Good morning. My name is Jasmine Vargas. I'm a senior organizer at LA Alliance for a New Economy and representing the Repower LA Coalition. Repower LA has been working closely with communities represented by our partners to bring these metrics to life, so we thank the DWP commissioners for championing this cause. The need for transformation is evident in how we do it and how we use these tools and tracking systems will show this. The equity metrics will provide a new perspective, and with that, creative solutions. The more we can support community involvement, the more the community we will see itself as a partner in this transformation and start imagining themselves as a future solar installer, lineman, or customer service representative with the LA DWP, a publicly owned utility and the largest in the country. They become part of the transformation and vision for LA, building clean energy infrastructure for the next generation of entrepreneurs, or electric vehicle engineers, or future community leaders. We want to work with the Commission to see how we can expand the outreach and community engagement beyond neighborhood city council presentations. The effective outreach and implementation, as well as overall reporting for the equity metrics, is a process Repower LA and Lane are committed to seeing through. Thank you.
Now you may take it away.
If I could just spend 1 minute, thank you, John. John and his group spent an enormous amount of time, or they do spend an enormous amount of time, compiling the data and coming up with all the performance metrics. And as we discussed the last time we presented this, we wanted to have a presentation we could take to all the neighborhood councils and community groups. And John has put together a really good, concise presentation with enough detail, but at a summary level, so we can share with transparency, as Vice President Funderburk mentioned, where we're doing well, where we need to improve. It's that transparency, I think, that makes it so important to the community that we share, you know, that report card, if you will, or data measurements, if you will, with everyone. And again, John is going to, after this, we wanted you to see it first, start taking this to the community, he and his staff, and sharing it again across all 400 miles or square miles or so of LA, so that we share this information and show this important measurement approach on how we do things here. So with that, John, go ahead.
Thank you, David. Good morning, Mr. President and Board of Commissioners. Thank you, Commissioner Funderburk, for your inspiring comments about equity matrix. Equity is about finding the fair distribution of goods and services among individuals and businesses in the society. Rates matrix have provided transparency and accountability for all the major areas of investment at the department. Equity matrix is adding another important dimension to transparency and accountability. In addition to technical and financial criteria, we must take equity into consideration when developing program services in order to ensure that they are equitably targeted. Through transparency, accountability, and equity, the ultimate goal for us as a public utility is to build trust among all of our constituents. Hopefully, this presentation will help illustrate what the department is doing towards achieving these goals. LADWP, in concert with the Mayor, City Council, and the Board of Water and Power Commissioners and Office of Public Accountability, developed enhanced reporting requirements that will improve LADWP's performance. In January of 2016, the board adopted 52 rates matrix. Not only the rates matrix were identified, but along with it, it comes with a target and allowable variance for each of those matrix, so that we will be able to track the performance of each of those major areas. As of April 2017, out of the 52 matrix that we track, as you can see, 6 of them exceeded our target goal. 26 are within the acceptable bandwidth. We have 18 that's outside of the acceptable variance. And the senior management team, the managers, are meeting monthly to review those data to see what are the issues and try to improve on the operation of those matrices. And we have additional yellow marks for matrices that's kind of on the borderline, but it requires additional attention. Currently, we have 0 of them. Next page shows the status of those rates matrix for power system, water system, and joint. It's a nice view of all the operation for the Department of Water and Power, covering all the major areas of investment. Next page. Here's a sample summary report. On the report, you can see the matrix that's identified. Sorry, it's hard to read, but I'm just going to talk about it. We have the responsible manager identified on the spreadsheet. There's a target for the matrix, and there's acceptable variance. And it's color-coded to the right. So at a glance, we'll know right away whether or not we're performing well in certain areas or not. Next. This is the dashboard for each of the rates matrix. The dashboard consists of the goal of the matrix, the background, achievements, performance variance, management comment, and mitigation plans or recommendations by the management. Again, each month we obtain those data. The senior management team sit down, look at the numbers, and discuss what we have done right, what needs to be improved. From the water trunk line replacement matrix, as you can see, at the beginning we're doing well. In the middle, there was a slippage for some of particular reasons, but it came back with some active management in that area. Next. Here's some additional dashboard for water meter replacement, power transformer replacement, and there's the dashboard for power pole replacement. Lastly, we also have the power cable replacement. For this particular matrix, as you can see, it's all red. Due to some contracting resource issues, this has been underachieving the target goals. However, we were able to put in place the contract that's needed to add additional resource in February of this year. So hopefully the number will improve at the later report. Equity matrix. We have been working on equity matrix for the past year. There have been several phases of work in developing the equity matrix. The first phase involved outreach to stakeholders to develop the 15 equity matrix. Then we focus in data gathering and geo-mapping the data in the second phase. For the third phase of development, individual dashboards, for the ones I just saw, were developed for each of the equity matrix. The next phase of the work will involve the individual program managers from, for example, our recruitment office, low-income and multifamily housing program, as well as the electric vehicle and solar program, in having an open dialogue with our stakeholders at the October 12th outreach meeting that's going to be held at the JFB Building. Next. Here's a timeline on what happened in developing the equity matrix. July of 2016, we held the first ever EMDI stakeholder meeting. In August, the commissioner approved the equity matrix resolution establishing the program. In October 2016, there was a second stakeholder meeting. In November, we presented the equity matrix at the neighborhood council meeting at JFB. In December 2016, board approved the 15 equity matrices. In January 2017, the initial report on equity matrix were presented to the OPA. Then in March of 2017, the first ever initial report on equity matrix were presented to the board. In March of 2017, we have also published all the matrix and maps along with the rates matrix on the LADWP website. In May of 2017, I had the opportunity to present equity matrix to the California Energy Commission workshop in Sacramento, and it was very well received. In August of 2017, we submitted to the board the second equity matrix report. And at the same day, we went to the City Council Energy, Climate Change, and Environmental Justice Committee meeting and presented equity matrix. And I'm also happy to say that in August 2017, the equity matrix team at Department of Water and Power, in conjunction with the IT staff, has won the 2017 LA Digital Government Summit Award. In addition to the things I just mentioned, there were at least over 30 stakeholder meetings where Commissioner Funderburg, along with the staff, had disseminated information regarding equity matrix. Next. We have a website that posts all of our matrices with the most current information to make sure that everyone is aware of how we're doing at the Department of Water and Power. In terms of community outreach, we make sure that email notifications are being sent to all the stakeholders. There were a news release regarding equity matrix. And then thanks to Joe Romaro's communication office, they even developed a flyer for us to pass out during the meeting. Next. Here's a list of the 15 equity matrix that was approved by the board. We have heard a lot about the Cal Enviro screen map. We are actually using the Cal Enviro screen map, especially regarding the poverty characteristic for the map. Next. We're using that as a base map in this particular chart. This particular chart describes the home energy improvement program, and it shows the number of installations at the various areas throughout the city. The base map is the poverty level map. Next. Water mainline condition and the plant replacement map. This is a heat map, actually shows the likelihood of failure for mainline water pipes. We have a very sophisticated program in identifying the trouble areas. That includes looking at the leaks, material pressure, soil corrosiveness, and et cetera, et cetera. Next. Earlier I mentioned during the third phase of the development of equity matrix, each of the equity matrix, we had a dashboard developed for that matrix. It also talks about the background, the criteria for the program, the achievement, the issues, and also what's different from the race matrix is that we wanted the program manager to describe their outreach strategy and plan. And hopefully, ultimately, we can add one more section to it, which is the penetration level. See how we're doing against our target market. Next. Here's more maps regarding the city. This is quite interesting because when we started, we had a city information for 5 of our districts. Currently, we have information for all the zip code areas in the city of Los Angeles. The daily collection points have increased from 10,000 points to over 1 million points.
What's SADI?
Oh, SADI. It's the system average interruption duration index that's being used in the industry to measure how we're doing in terms of reliability, power reliability.
What do these numbers mean?
It's an index showing the frequency of outages that's occur in those areas. Next. Tree canopy program. I'm not sure everyone knows about, but Department of Water and Power has an extensive tree planting funding program that has existed since 1998. And this map shows what we have been doing for the period from January 2016 through December of 2016. Next.
Excuse me, why are tree canopies important to a water and power department?
Well, we want to make sure that a lot of the areas have green areas, and there's a lot of trees, not just dirt areas. And it also provides shades for the community, for the people.
Does the department get credit with the Energy Commission for planting the trees or through the greenhouse gas emission reduction program because the tree canopies address the urban heat island effect, thereby reducing electricity use and also conserving energy?
I believe so, yes, sir. Next. Here's a chart talking about new hires and the promotional demographics for the fiscal year 2016 and 2017. I know Commissioner Barak, you had mentioned about gender equity. I spoke with Donna and Shannon of the HR recruitment office. They will be developing a comprehensive presentation for the October 12th meeting. And we will be having that presentation available for review prior to the meeting.
Thank you. But on this page, page 25, where it says male versus female, Is this water or power or,
Combined.
It's combined.
Combined, yes.
so this means out of the 100% of people hired, new hires, almost 25% were women.
That's correct.
And I think what we were talking about at the last commission was women having non-traditional jobs in the power side as line people. So that's included, but that's not broken out here. So it could be that most of these 25% were in the water side.
Or it could be in the customer service side or the accounting side. So we can break the.
Which are more traditional women.
That's correct.
Okay, so then I'd like to see this at some point broken out.
Yes, we'll do that.
Okay, and then the other one, promotional employee. How are you defining that?
So it's for anyone that received the promotion during the period of time that's defined.
And that could be in any department.
That's correct. We can break that down for you too in the particular category that.
Well, I guess if you have one or two people of women climbing power poles, you're not gonna, it's hard to promote them. So, I mean, that's the reality.
Yes. But I think you will be encouraged to see that recruitment office has a very detailed, comprehensive plan on how to outreach to the female engineers. So they will be putting that slide together. So
What department did you say?
Recruitment office and the HR, human
Okay.
resources.
Yeah, HR. And we will, as John said, we'll break that down then by division and start
Okay.
talking about, because there's different avenues on how we try to build gender equity, say in the engineering area versus a field area versus a number of other
Yes.
areas. And there's going to have to be targeted promotional and collateral materials for
Right.
each area, and it's gonna take a while to develop and get there, but we won't get there if we don't start. So that's what we're going to do. We're starting and
Yeah.
moving forward and determining, again, strategies depending on the types of jobs
Well, sure.
and how we need to go out and
Yeah,
recruit.
I think that's really important, because once you just put them all together, that doesn't give you the information about what's happening on the power side with women. And the line people, that they're the ones who are making the higher salaries, but we don't have women. But we do have, I've been very impressed with all the women engineers that we have on the water side.
I don't know if I dare say this, but I think you'll be impressed in the near future in that it'll spill over to other
Good.
systems as well.
Okay.
Is that
Well,
delicately said enough?
That's good. And I did speak to the head of the laborers union, Local 300, and asked about whether their people are they mostly men, and they are in the laborers industry, but they're now reaching out and recruiting women. And so one of the things that he said to me was that, and I'm sure that won't happen here, is that some of the men out in the field didn't want to work with women, but they're working on that. So I mean, there are some kind of problems that we have to overcome.
Yesterday and the day before, I attended the Large Public Power Council, which are the 25 largest public power utilities in the United States. And I specifically asked for any other of the utilities if they could share their approaches to gender equity, so that if we don't have to reinvent a wheel somewhere, it just helps us move faster and succeed quicker. So I'm getting collateral material from several different utilities and their strategies, which is why we get together, so that we can share things and
Yeah.
get kind of that economy of
Yeah.
scale.
Well, based on what he said, I think it might be interesting to get some information from him, how they recruited people in the labor union.
We'll
Okay.
do that. Thank you for.
Can I ask you a question, please, John? Are we just doing this to increase the number of women? Or are we making a more efficient and getting more value for our dollar because we're actually increasing competition for the labor for the job positions by doing more outreach and getting non-traditional people into these jobs? Or is it just is this just a number checking and check the box type of exercise?
I think it comes back to this definition of equity. Equity in terms of opportunity. We want to make sure offer all the workforce opportunity to work in a certain area. There's a lot of talent out there. It's not just about increasing number. It's about including everyone into this process, including all the talent, so that it can make our workforce even stronger with more diversity.
So the ratepayers are getting more service for the dollar. Is
That's
what the bottom line is, or not?
Yes, that's correct.
Okay.
And I have to beg the question, how have the unions embraced this new goal and direction and the goals that we're setting for ourselves as a department? Can you speak to that?
Actually, I chatted with the head of Local 18 and had absolute 100% full support by the unions, that union, to move ahead and try to improve our diversity at every level. So I can't, this is one of those where I think there's absolute cooperation between our unions, our workforce management, the community, and it wasn't, it was literally like, would you support? Yes. I mean, so it was tremendous, absolute support, and we're all trying to look at others that have done it well, because they're going back and looking at how other unions across the country have increased gender and diversity throughout their workforce. So it's truly going to be a strong push, a cooperative push, and so we can succeed again as fast as we possibly can.
Okay, that's promising. Thank you.
Next page. Here's a graph of LADWP new hires compared to the Los Angeles demographics. As you can see, there are some areas difference, but it's pretty close in almost all the categories. Next. We have, and we're also in the process establishing partnership with the academic world. Loyola Marymount University we have joined with their social survey, their annual survey. They're very good at doing that. So we're going to add a few questions into the survey to see how we're doing. And we have a contract with the University of Southern California, UCLA. I mean, sorry, I graduated from USC, so I guess it's very natural for me to say that. It's actually UCLA.
We'll forgive you this time.
Sorry. And then we're also in the process issuing an RFP to obtain additional resources to help us on the equity matrix side.
When you talk about equity metrics, and when I look at this presentation, are you talking about by ethnicity, or are you now bringing in female hires as well?
Bring gender also into the
So
matrix.
you're
it's
now
two separate.
bringing gender
Yes.
into this. So
Yes.
that's going to be, I understand, more expanded than what it is now.
No, it's actually always been there. It just hasn't been as highlighted, Commissioner Brown.
I see. So now, like for instance, this new hire workforce diversity, LADWP new hires compared to LA demographics, there's nothing highlighted or anything about women.
We'll do that in the future.
Okay.
I'd like to make one very brief comment as it relates to slide 26. And Richard, please feel free to clarify if my understanding in any way was incorrect, but our water team, several of the representatives, including Marty Adams, met with the Native American tribes up north as it relates to their sovereign land up north. And one of the requests that they made was that they have the opportunity to work more closely with us, not just politically, but via employment. And one thing that they asked for is they said, you know, even if there aren't positions available, we would at least like to piggyback on your training so that we can better our lands. So anytime you're educating your department employees, perhaps we can sit in and learn, so at least we can learn how to better conserve water and help grow our produce and agriculture. So I think that's important to note as it relates to the Native American demographics.
We'll know that. So for the next 60 days, here the outreach activity we'll be doing. On October 12th at JFB, we'll hold a stakeholder meeting, and we'll have some of the program manager present at that meeting. And following that meeting in November, I think there's going to be at least 5 or more meetings with the neighborhood council. We'll be going out there and doing presentation.
So you're going to do this presentation at these alliances?
That's correct.
Okay. You won't be able to get to the Valley Alliance probably till December because we have a big planning forum
Okay.
in November.
Okay, that's nice. Thank you.
Yeah, but I'm glad that you're going to be coming. Yeah.
Yes, we will.
So pretty much this is what you're going to be presenting?
We will also bring the program manager with us to some of those meetings. So hopefully some of them can talk about the solar program, the electric vehicle program, even the recruitment programs that we.
Oh, I thought that your focus is really the equity.
Yes,
matrix.
the equity, but part of the equity is, we have equity matrix on electric vehicle, on
I
solar.
see. I see. I might just mention that I think that for the average community person in neighborhood councils, a lot of this it's a lot of detail, and you might want to just flesh out some of that, a lot of detail and a lot of statistics. And some of these, I think some of these charts are not that clear. And when you talk about like the water trunk line replacements, are you going by location, by parts of the city, so that people in different parts of the city will know that that's the trunk line that you're referring to?
So what we'll do during those presentations, we actually make a bigger map, so you can see the heat map of our water system mainline. In addition to that, there are blue dots on the map. Those are planned work for the next 3 to 5 years in replacing those water mains. So if we can blow up the map, you can actually see what we have planned for those areas for the next 3 to 5 years.
Well, it sounds, you're covering a lot of material at
Yes.
these meetings. And I'm wondering what your purpose is, what you want to get out of those meetings.
I think we want to introduce the equity matrix to everyone, and then maybe we can work ahead of time with some of the representatives from the neighborhood council for that area and talk to them what they are interested in hearing, and maybe we can focus on some of the topics on the areas of
The
interest.
next time.
Not just the coming up neighborhood council meeting.
So you would talk to people before you go out?
That's correct.
And see what they're, because I think the Q&A at some of these alliances is gonna tell you what people are really interested in.
Okay.
And I think that, particularly in the valley, the Northeast Valley feels that it's very neglected, and there's a lot of that discussion at the Valley Alliance meetings.
We can tailor our presentation to the topics that each of those neighborhood council would like to discuss.
Okay, and I think that on some of your maps, this number 23, page 23, Sadie, it's not clear what those numbers represent. You said it's outages, but it's just not clear looking at all of this. So I think you might want to look at some of these and see if you could make them a little bit clearer.
Okay. We'll do that.
We'll
Okay.
take your feedback as well and relook at the presentation
Yes.
with the idea for, can we make it clear? Maybe there are a couple additional introductory slides.
Yeah.
Maybe a couple bullet points based on just what does this mean? What is it? But any feedback that any of the commissioners have, we can look at that and
Yeah.
adjust and simplify the presentation
think that would be helpful. Yeah, I know you're looking at this citywide, but I think, you know, people, because the city is so large and so sprawling, people tend to look at things in terms of their area and what's happening. And I think if you could maybe make some of these maps more area centered, that would be a region. Maybe region is better. That might be more helpful.
I would just like to applaud you because I think this is an excellent, excellent start to where we are in this chapter of this endeavor. And what I appreciate your thoughts about a lot of people are so busy, and an executive summary always is helpful. But by the same token, the fact that you are prepared with all of this detailed information shows that the department is taking this very seriously and doing its work. It's not just talk. And so I applaud you for this presentation.
Thank you, Commissioner. And thank you for your valuable comment. The whole purpose of this presentation today is to get feedbacks from the Commissioner.
Yes,
So
I
thank
think
you for that.
that would be important. And I certainly didn't mean to be negative. I'm just knowing how these alliances work and how the people that go to them, the leaders from various communities. I just want to make it as effective and provocative as we can and clear, because, you know, a lot of people are not engineers and they don't have that kind of mind.
Thank you.
Okay, but thanks very much.
Other comments or questions?
I had something to wrap up with. When I first saw the PowerPoint, my first question was, what do the corporate performance standards have to do with equity metrics? Because why is this? Why are we not wasting time? But why are we spending all? But I think it's not just a demonstrative of the commitment that DWP is making enterprise-wide, but it reflects the priority that equity is being given. And if equity is done right with deliberation and done methodically, it can actually make the organization more efficient. And so I think that when you don't have mandates, you can actually wring out efficiencies and for that. So I have a closing statement as well, just to wrap this up. We have all the numbers. They hint at some things that keep all of us focused, that make clear the adoption of this initiative itself, the product of hard work of so many, and expression of the views and desires gathered from customers, employees, and other stakeholders before it was ever adopted, was the right thing to do. And we have a lot more work to do. And it's not going to happen overnight, but it's going to be with feedback and outreach, which Commissioner Barad has been from the beginning.
Yes.
Even before she was on this commission, providing lessons to the elected officials about how to do outreach. And I think that we're doing this, and I think that I look forward to working with her on leading this charge to engage our customers more. That's what this is about. We have more work to do. With this tool and the data Mr. Chen has assembled, because of it, we can see something very important. We made a commitment to the ratepayers with that rate proposal. Mayor Garcetti has made a commitment to all of the citizens of the city. The board knows what the policy goals of both the mayor and this board that this board and the mayor now direct us to do, and the department's customers are willing to pay their fair share. So let's just make sure they get their fair share in return. Thanks, John.
Thank you.
Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Water conservation potential study.
So the Department of Water and Power, and specifically the water system, has been very much engaged in water conservation. Really, the city of Los Angeles is a better way to put it. And over the last 30 years, so really my career, there have been great efforts at water conservation, directed mostly at responding to droughts and converting that into a way of life here in the city of Los Angeles. So within the last 30 years, the per capita use in Los Angeles has been decreased by 45%, which is just extreme. And it's very much part of the central part of our water resources plan. Because of that that demand reduction, we've been able to manage and really cap the total demand of water use in the city of Los Angeles as it was 30 years ago, in spite of the population raising by 1 million. And we project over the next 25 years, the city is going to grow another 400,000 people. And at the heart of our local resources program, in response to the mayor's initiative to develop those local resources, we're basically, the plan is to hold that demand again steady over that next 2 to 3 decades, in spite of that 400,000 more people. Now, we've reduced water use a lot through water conservation. You could call it the low-hanging fruit, and now it's going to be a lot more difficult to maintain that level in spite of that population growth. So what the department did and the water system did was embark on a water conservation potential study, because it is true that we're going to rely on water conservation to basically manage our demands, but where to find that additional drop of water. And so what you have before you today is a couple things. One is an executive report of that water conservation potential study, and then we have David Pettyjohn, who's the director of water resources, and Penny Falcon, who manages our water conservation policy, to give you a presentation at an executive level here of what that potential study bore out and the direction we're going to go. So Dave.
Thank you, Rich, for that introduction. Good morning, President Levine, Commissioners. We've got a little presentation here for you today. We'll be sharing with you the findings from the recently completed Water Conservation Potential Study, and the executive summary you all have been given this morning. It's at your table there. So the study was designed to determine the city's remaining conservation potential for each of our customer sectors. So the results will help us on a go-forward basis to develop new programs, policies, and procedures to meet the long-term water conservation goals for the Department of Water and Power. So this is the city's water supply portfolio for an average year, and you can see that over 85% of the water supply comes from imported sources, either the LA Aqueduct or from the Metropolitan Water District aqueducts. In an average year, about 52% of our water comes from the Metropolitan Water District, but in a dry year, we can get over 70% of our water from the Metropolitan Water District. So in recognition of this heavy dependence upon imported water supplies, the mayor issued Executive Directive Number 5, and the city adopted its Sustainable City Plan. Both of those set very aggressive local water supply development goals and water conservation goals for the Department of Water and Power. And the Water Conservation Potential Study that we're presenting for you today provides us with the information we're going to need to achieve the Sustainable City Plan goals for water conservation. So we have over 700,000 water accounts, and we serve over 4 million people. And as you can see from this slide, the single family and the multifamily residential sectors make up about 2/3 of our total customer demand. So historically, our conservation investments have focused on indoor water use efficiency, especially in the residential sector. One of the findings of the potential study is that the department is going to have to shift more toward that, from an indoor focus to an outdoor focus. And that's going to be one of the big challenges for us going forward. So how have we dealt with the challenges in the past? You can see this is our historical conservation programs have produced in the city. When I first started, we were about 187 gallons per person per day. And we've brought that all the way down to today, where we're at 102 gallons per person per day. So this includes savings of over 128,000 acre-feet every year of installed hardware-based conservation. To achieve that, the department invested, just in the last 10 years, over $350 million in incentives for hardware-based conservation measures. So these achievements have saturated much of our service territory with low-cost, high-return conservation devices. But with much of the low-hanging fruit now gone, the question is just what Rich said, where do we focus our efforts now? And that's exactly what the Conservation Potential Study was designed to address. So going forward, we've adopted the mayor's ambitious conservation goals shown on this slide. So the goal is to maintain the mayor's ED5 targets and further the city's water use efficiency to reach the mayor's Sustainable City Plan goal targets. And they're shown here on this slide, a 22% reduction by 2025 and a 25% reduction by 2035.
Is that per capita or is that total?
That's total. So these aggressive goals require us to quantify the conservation savings potential remaining in the city, and that's what we did. So to accomplish this, the potential study analyzed all the major water end uses in each of the customer sectors shown here. So on the left, you see the single family and multifamily end uses, and these were fairly easily modeled because residential water use can be summarized into a fairly short list, as you see on the left. However, on the commercial, industrial, institutional side and the city-owned facilities side, and those are on the right, there's a much larger variety of relatively complex water end uses that we had to model. Next slide. These next 4 slides are really the guts of the study and really the conclusion of the study. So to explain what these slides are showing, at the very top you see non-conserving, conserving, and ultra-conserving, and in the gray, the green, the yellow, and the green. So the gray area, those are non-conserving areas. Those are the areas of the most potential for us. The conserving and the ultra-conserving areas, those are things that we've already done. So really focus on the gray as where the potential is. So the first slide, this summarizes the saturation levels for the single-family sector. And as you can see, we've saturated the single-family sector with efficient shower heads and toilets. You can see those at the bottom. So to date, we've incentivized over 1.7 million efficient toilets and 1.5 million shower heads. And what the study is telling us is that going forward, the water uses with the largest water conservation potential in this sector are going to be the landscape irrigation and the clothes washers. And those are at the top of the slide. So next slide. This slide shows the saturation table for the multifamily sector. And similar to the single family sector, a lot has been done in the multifamily sector to saturate bathroom fixtures. And you can see those at the bottom here. But similar to the single family sector, the water uses with the largest water conservation potential going forward for improving our efficiency are going to be the landscape irrigation and clothes washers once again for this sector. Switching over to the commercial, industrial, and institutional sector, there's still some potential remaining in faucets and pre-rinsed spray nozzles that you see here in the middle of this slide, but going forward, the water uses with the largest conservation potential, again, are going to be landscape irrigation, and then a little change here, cooling and condensation towers are a big potential in this sector as well. City-owned facilities. Here,
Dave,
yes.
Question from.
Oh, I'm sorry.
Quick question.
Yes.
When I first joined this board, there was some discussion about water-free urinals being incorporated, like at the convention center and other city-owned departments. At the time, I know that the obstacle was that the cartridges that I guess clean those water-free urinals were quite expensive. Has there been any progress? Can you give me an update as to whether or not that option is more feasible, not only for departments, but for company and private-owned complexes?
Yeah, excellent question. A lot of those problems have been overcome, and you can see that on this slide. In fact, it's a very good point. So look here on this slide in particular, you can see the high efficiency or the zero water urinals are pretty highly saturated now. So a lot of the problems that you articulated, Commissioner Noonan, have been overcome, and we've got about a 98% saturation level in this sector with these urinals. So it's really been one of our success stories. But you're right, when we first started, there were quite a few hurdles that we needed to overcome.
Right, and just to add to that, the urinals have become, even the ones that aren't waterless, use so little water that a lot of agencies still prefer to keep those water-using ones because it's easier for the training of the maintenance staff. Because the cartridges, yes, they were expensive. I know the companies have tried to work to bring those down and make them easier and more accessible to get to and not require change out as often. But still, it's the maintenance staff and the training, and as the changeover of those staff occur, then somebody will mess up the cartridge and they'll use water on it, which would cause a problem with it functioning properly and with the odor. And so that's why most places still prefer that pint urinal. But what you see here, that 82% is that very efficient using urinal, and the 7% is the zero water urinal. So that's kind of where it's still at. But in the big big facilities where they do have more frequent training of their maintenance staff, they do like those zero urinals.
Okay. Good. I would hope that we could support educating, complexes and largely occupied buildings that may consider that option. And I'm glad to see that there's been momentum in that regard. Thank you.
So the bottom line on this slide, again, is that landscape irrigation and cooling towers are really where we need to start shifting our focus to. So last slide. So this slide summarizes where we think we can get to if we focus on our future efforts on those areas from the previous slides that are not yet saturated with efficient devices. So we think we can reach an additional 140,000 acre-feet a year of new conservation by 2035. That's above and beyond what we're currently doing. And that will help us to achieve the mayor's sustainable city plan goal. But it's going to require some expansion in our current investments in the levels that we provide to customers for devices. One result is that while we have virtually saturated the single and multifamily residential sector with efficient indoor fixtures, the majority of the conservation potential going forward is still going to come from the multifamily and the single-family residential sector. And this is going to be outdoors, but the reason that's true is because most of our demand, about 70% of the city's demand, is from the residential, multifamily, single-family residential sector. So we're still going to have to focus most of our effort there. And in that sector, about 64% of all the future conservation potential available to us is in that sector. So, Commissioner Broad?
I have a question.
Yes.
The commercial, industrial, and institutional, does that include the water use by LAUSD?
Yes, it does.
That's in that
That's correct.
group.
Yes.
So the schools then are using most of it, as you have here, for landscape and irrigation.
Correct.
Well, in the schools, we did about 7 years ago, we did just a study and an audit for LAUSD, and they have that information. But there is in the schools potential for urinals and toilets to be improved in the schools. But because of concern or issues in the older schools and the plumbing, they can't just like remove the entire porcelain device. So we're working with them through our MOA agreement that we have on changing out the valves and stuff for the toilets and the urinals to make them more efficient.
What about the water fountains and the faucets?
That's the program that we're also working with LAUSD on the MOU on them changing out, and they've got a schedule on how they're going to be changing out the drinking fountains throughout the remaining. They've done quite a few of the campuses. They've completed all the large campuses, but they still have some of the other campuses to complete. So I unfortunately don't have that exact schedule with me.
But you're working with them now on to see, because I haven't heard how they're conserving, other than the fact that they said that in 5 years they're going to have all new fixtures. But other than that, I don't hear any means of conservation.
Yeah, the biggest area that they conserve and the biggest water savings is going to be with those toilets and urinals, getting those up to efficient, because plumbing is the easiest thing, because once you put it in, it's not a behavior change. And then they are also working with outdoor irrigation and becoming more, landscape more sustainable. I know our watershed folks have a lot of projects that they're looking to work with the schools to make them more efficient in that area. And again, that all goes back to the big, the MOU that we have both for the energy and water conservation with LAUSD. And so we've got a lot of people working together to move all that forward.
If you're able to, you say you did a study 7 years ago, if you're able to see how they've conserved, particularly landscape and irrigation, since that's the 84% here, what have they done in the last 7 years?
Excuse me. The study we did before the audit was inside out, internal audit. So it was for the plumbing devices. And that's where we identified the schools and the toilets and urinals that were available for us to make more efficient. And that was the report that we gave to them. And since then, we've been working with them through our rebate program, our water conservation rebate program, and also trying to get the direct install type program. But again, we're working through their office and their unions, and so we've made progress on
nothing with
that.
Landscape and irrigation?
That's the next step that we're going. That's still a very new step. Outdoor irrigation is, as you can tell from all the customer sectors that we have, It's one that hasn't progressed as far as we've liked. Our turf rebate program just started in 2009, and really for conservation or efficiency program, that's a very young program. Our toilet programs we started back in the late 80s and 90s, and we've done direct install, and now we're just trying to clean up and get the very last bits of toilets that haven't been changed out in our sectors. But we'll continue to educate and find new innovative technologies to use to improve our outdoor irrigation, besides the efficient nozzles, our weather-based irrigation controllers, and our biggest movement is changing out to sustainable landscaping. And that's not only converting areas that aren't used for soccer and other activities that the kids do, but converting those unused areas that are just ornamental turf, convincing all our customers that there's better use for that we can change that ornamental turf into sustainable landscaping that includes California-friendly plantings, but also includes capturing and reusing stormwater that we get here in the LA Basin.
Well, a lot of the schools have trees, and they also have gardens where especially in the elementary schools, and in fact some of the senior highs where the students plant. And it seems that's what I've been working on, trying to get them to use the water that they flush down the drain and use that for irrigation.
Oh, absolutely, and those are very important things, and we just want to tag on to those educational opportunities. We have, for water conservation and energy efficiency, we partner with the teachers in a lot of the LAUSD schools and provide them materials and other things to help promote and educate the kids, which again, they take it back to their parents. And so it's a big cycle, but I agree there's a lot more that we can do, and that's what this potential study has shown, where we can find and focus our efforts.
For dealing with the residential landscaping and irrigation issue, what are the principal measures that will work to reduce water use in those areas?
Well, the biggest savings is, of course, changing out cool season turf and putting in California-friendly, low water using plants.
So how do we what do we do to, what will we be doing to encourage that? Will we be rebating or?
We will be rebating, educating them about our rebate. We currently have just increased our rebate in September 1st to $2, and we're running that sale basically for the next 4 months during the fall season, which is the best time for people to plant. So you can get better plant establishment. But we have education classes, and we're looking to expand on those. We've got hands-on workshops on how to do that. We've got a website that identifies all these different planting opportunities, and we also are looking and working with Metropolitan Water District, who operates a rebate program in partnership with them, but in promoting how much water is being used outdoors. And not only, if you don't want to get rid of your grass, you do have other opportunities, and that's putting in the efficient irrigation nozzle, sprinkler heads, and putting in weather-based or smart controllers or moisture sensing controllers. So those are the key areas right now that we're focusing on, along with the stormwater capture aspect. So we rebate on rain barrels and cisterns to try and get people to make that connection, capture that water and reuse it, and use it on your plants and your trees.
Yeah.
So that somewhat begs the question of the last slide here, of what's the next step, Dave?
Yeah, so the next steps, and Commissioner Levine, this is really what we're going to have to focus on to achieve some of those outdoor conservation savings. It's going to take a little work to work out what we need to do. So now that the study's complete, we're going to use these findings to develop some strategies that will help us meet the 2025 and 2035 goals that the mayor set for us. So it's going to be a balance of passive and active programs. Passive programs being, code-based things like, passive or behavior change type programs, and then active programs where we're actually investing in things like turf removal and other hardware-based type conservation measures. So
that's what I was looking for. I thought the other one was your last slide.
No, we have one more.
This is it. So to maximize the passive water savings, we're going to develop these strategies, ordinances, code-based compliance, and behavior change efforts to boost our participation in our active programs. We're going to increase funding to some of our existing incentives and create some new incentive programs. Penny mentioned that we're going to increase the turf rebate program by increasing it to $2 a square foot. We anticipate there'll be a lot of interest in that program between now and the end of the year. And then finally, we're going to continue our collaboration with other city departments, and we're going to continue to explore new conservation and water use efficiency technologies, which we're going to need to achieve some of these goals. So in conclusion, if we're successful in implementing the recommendations of the Water Conservation Potential Study, we're going to more than double the amount of conservation that we're currently doing in the city. So we'll be achieving well over 100,000 acre-feet of additional new conservation savings, and that will help us achieve the goals that have been set for the department in the area of water conservation. So this has been really a landmark study for us. It's really going to give us a pathway forward on how we are going to spend our money, what things we're going to invest in, and where we should really try to focus our efforts in the future. So with that, we'll be happy to answer any more questions you might have.
Congratulations on this study.
Thank you.
It's terrific.
I had a quick question.
Yeah.
The $2 per square foot rebate, is that in addition to the MET rebate, or does the MET rebate, was that eliminated?
No, the MET rebate, they're not giving a rebate out now, except what we do is they have money that they allocate to their member agencies through their member agency programs, and that provides us with, I think, like 35 cents, something like that. 30 cents. As of the $2 will come through that member agency program with the Metropolitan Water District.
And is the rebate program regulated like the energy efficiency program, where there's a built-in kind of meter to make sure that the rebate's distributed equitably, and that calculus is made? The concern that I think some of the people had was that during the drought, we kind of went for low-hanging fruit, which was golf courses, et cetera, that were not necessarily on the list of non-affluent city dwellers. And so is that going to be factored in, or is there a limitation? Is the same limitation going to be in place that limits the size of the rebate by square footage?
Yeah, we do limit the size of the rebate by square footage, and also the $2 increase is really only for the residential customers. And to your point, there's another slide. Why don't you slip to the slide, Penny? There's a slide here that shows this is the distribution of the turf rebate program participation inside the city of Los Angeles. And you can see it's pretty fairly distributed. We did a lot of outreach in a lot of the areas of the city that maybe people wouldn't traditionally think would be interested in turf removal, but a pretty fair distribution across the city. We've tried to maintain this, and going forward, we're going to continue our outreach efforts in all areas of the city so that you don't find just the more affluent areas taking advantage of the program.
Okay. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Great work.
Okay, our last management report today is update on the electric vehicle business plan. We have 3 speaker cards. We'll start with those.
The first speaker will be Joel Levin, and after that, Richard Tebay. Again, please limit your comments to 2 minutes. Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Joel Levin. I'm the Executive Director of Plug-in America. So we are the voice of the 700,000 drivers of electric vehicles across the United States. And I'm here today to speak in support of the electric vehicle business plan that's being developed by LADWP. Electric vehicles have the opportunity to provide tremendous benefits to every LADWP ratepayer, and the City of LA can really become the world leader for the adoption of electric vehicles. EVs allow us to keep fuel dollars at home, benefits the local economy, and provides local jobs rather than sending those dollars halfway around the world. EVs are typically charged at night, which can help to stabilize the grid, although it's important that charging programs are designed to encourage people to charge when the extra power is available. EVs don't have a tailpipe, so they're tremendously beneficial for air quality and for reducing the impact on climate change. And so we're very supportive of DWP's efforts to increase the number of EVs around Los Angeles. One big challenge is that as the number of vehicles grows, the charging infrastructure has to grow with it. So we're pleased to see that your target to have 10,000 public chargers around the city. We would encourage you to focus on charging that can benefit apartment dwellers in particular, who very often cannot charge at home. So that would include things like workplace charging and also charging in areas with dense clusters of multifamily dwellings. We're also pleased to see that DWP is considering rebates for used cars. We think that EVs can have a lot of benefits for moderate income communities where people end up spending a significant chunk of their income for gasoline. And currently most EV rebates and tax credits focused on the new car market. And lastly, we're just big fans also of continuing public outreach and education. That's really important, even here where there's so many EVs out. So thank you very much.
Thank you very much, and thank you for the good work you guys are doing.
Next, Richard T. Bay, and after that, Kitty Adams.
Good morning. Good morning. I'm Richard T. Bay with LA County. Thank you for allowing me to address your board this morning in support of this proposal. And thank you for the current rebate program. The current rebate program has provided critical gap funding that enable installations, larger installations at county facilities and for the benefit of our constituents. Your board's rebate program makes a critical difference at many county facilities. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Next will be Kitty Adams.
Hi, my name is Kitty Adams. I'm the Executive Director of Adopt a Charger, a nonprofit organization that solicits funding to install electric vehicle chargers at high-profile destinations like national parks, state parks, museums, and universities. I've partnered with LADWP, taken advantage of the rebate to install EV chargers at LACMA, Natural History Museum, Getty Center, Getty Villa, 3 popular LADOT parking lots, the LA Zoo, the Cabrillo Aquarium in San Pedro, Will Rogers State Historic Park, LA State Historic Park, and I'm currently working on Children's Hospital in Los Angeles. Drivers can give feedback directly to me through the PlugShare app. I've had over 3,000 check-ins at these locations, 90% which were positive, so that means we are doing something right. And what I've heard in all the presentations is what can we do better? So if I can make some recommendation, if I can talk in support of the recommendations, the reason I do what I do is for the outreach and education. At this point in time, there's a disconnect at the dealer level. The EV curious are getting the information about the cars from interacting with actual owners. That's why I target these high-profile destinations to encourage that type of interaction. LADWP has always been the leader in this area, so I'm glad that you're looking at how you can make things even more appropriate. The challenge for me is actually, I've been working for 2.5 years on Children's Hospital LA, and typically people do not have a line item in their budgets, the people that I work with, to install EV charging. It's also been a challenge with LAUSD, so the fact that the commission is considering front funding some of these rebates will really help me in my work. And also especially when it comes to disadvantaged communities. A lot of people are talking about helping out disadvantaged communities, but I'm not tripping over charger salesmen in these neighborhoods. So front funding will enable me to help those that are most impacted by poor air quality. Thank you.
Thank you.
Hi, good morning, Commissioners. The department realizes that a critical component of us reaching our RPS and GHG reduction goals is the electrification of the transportation industry, and not just having chargers for our ratepayers, which is important, but also we have a lot of people, like for myself, I live outside the city of LA. I commute down to LA every day, and we need to have a place for them to charge as they come, or people that come into town for theater or shopping. So we're going to ask Marvin Moon, our director of our Power Engineering Division and our EV champion, to give us an update on our electric vehicle business plan.
I figured you were all our EV champions.
We are.
Thank you, Andy. Well, Commissioners, it's great pleasure that I have to give you an update on the electric vehicle program and also talk about some enhancements to the program and goals enhancements as well that we're looking at moving forward. At a very simple level, the goal is drastically increase the adoption of electric transportation in Southern California. And this program, you do this, it's very simple. We just need a lot of cars charging at the right time, and then that'll make it successful. In our integrated resource plan, which is our roadmap moving forward of all the projects we need to do in the power system, it says that electric transportation, we need in the next 5 years to be able to sell enough electric power to power the equivalent of 145,000 electric vehicles. Just to put it in perspective, there are about 3.5 million cars in LA. But we have a new goal as well on infrastructure. Currently, PlugShare, which is a social media app which tracks charging, says there are about 1,300 public chargers in LA. Well, that's not very good when you have about 27,000 cars. It's a terrible ratio. And if you never see any charging out there, you're certainly not inclined to buy a car. So we want to up that, and in the next 5 years, have 10,000 commercial electric vehicle chargers in LA. Now that includes public charging, workplace charging, charging fleets, anything connected to a commercial meter. 4,000 of those should be on city property. So that's our new goal that we'll be working towards as a 5-year goal. And we're going to do it 3 ways. The first is to get people to buy the car, and that's done largely through education and outreach. I read a study back in March that 60% of the people out there don't know very much about electric vehicles. So there's a huge gap in outreach and education. Secondly, there are about 400,000 cars come into LA every day to work. And those cars can often get here electric, but they can't get home electric. So we're going to count public and workplace chargers as EV equivalents because their usage is about the same as if we're at home, even though that's where most of the charging is done. And additionally, non-light duty vehicles such as buses and vehicles down in the port and things, those take a lot of power for electric transportation. So a bus might be equal to 20 cars. So we'll count it that way as well. So that's how we're going to get to our 140,000 equivalent EVs.
Hey, Marvin,
Yes,
there were a couple of facts that you mentioned that weren't listed in the slide. One, you said 27,000.
Right.
That is my understanding as to what the current electric vehicle registrations are for the city of Los Angeles, correct?
Right. And again, that's approximation.
No, right, based on some extrapolations.
Right.
And how does that number relate to where things are going? Because one of the things you also said was that's where all of the charging is done, which you meant the present people who have electric vehicles, which is a very interesting demographic. If you look at the zip codes where they're registered, charge them largely at their homes because they have level 2 chargers, they can afford level 2 chargers, and they're that are in the home. And I think the thing is I think that when we talk about this, I think it's important to understand where we're going also, and I think that you're going to get to that in your presentation, but how vastly things could change over the next few years with just a couple of needle movements like the Tesla 3 getting into the marketplace and the penetration at different income levels of these. And the demand for single-family home level 2 chargers maybe not being where people get the charge, but at their apartment building or work. So,
right, you're right, Commissioner. As far as the current charging patterns, we did 2 studies on it. 89% of the charging is done in the home, which is actually great for us because 80% of that is off peak. So that's what we want to do is encourage people to charge at night when we have plenty of capacity. And charging patterns are changing too. I heard about 2 weeks ago from a recent study by Davis that when cars originally came out in 2010, 2011, about 80% of the folks were getting level 2 chargers for those cars. But now that's kind of dropping. So now only about 60% of the people I'm sorry, 40% are getting level 2 chargers, 60% are using level 1, which is a wall plug. So it's the charging patterns are changing, particularly with DC fast charging becoming more available to fill in the gap. So it's a constantly changing environment.
I have some
Yes.
very naive questions, so please forgive me.
Sure.
And I appreciate, I see so many familiar faces in the audience that have definitely been kingpins about bringing this to our attention. And I am in total agreement that we need to help those who can't afford to buy these chargers in their home to have access to them in all neighborhoods. But just to give me kind of like education 101, how long does it take to charge a car? So when you talk about that you have 1,300 chargers and 27,000 vehicles, how long does it take to charge a car, and how long does that charge last?
That's an excellent question. That was my next slide.
Okay.
This is a summary of the 3 types of chargers that are out there. They're called level 1, level 2, and some call them level 3 or DC fast charging. Level 1 is like the cord set that comes in the back of the truck when you buy a car. You plug it into a standard wall plug, 110 volt wall plug. It's pretty slow. It gets the job done, but it's not very fast. It's only like a hairdryer as far as amount of power. So if you have a typical car like a Leaf, you normally have to go overnight or more to get the charge done.
Marvin, can you explain that? Because I didn't know this before I ended up getting one, which I should have. I found out after the fact. But can you explain how that works with different size batteries and different range batteries? Because I think
Sure.
that's kind of important to understand.
Yeah, that's another thing that's changing too. Most of the cars, the early first generation cars, had cars, they typically go from 85 to 100 miles. And they had battery sizes, they have electrical measurements called kilowatt hours. So a level 1 charger is about 1 kilowatt hour, kilowatt hour per hour, 1,000 watts. So it would take, if you have a 24 kilowatt hour battery, it would take 24 hours to charge it with a level 1 charger from dead to full power. So that's pretty slow. The level 2 charger is a 240 volt one instead of 120 volts. So instead of a regular wall plug, it's like an electric dryer connection. And that's much more power. It's 3 to 5 times more powerful. So you can get a typical charge. Most typical charges are under 3 hours with that kind of charger. So you go from all night down to 2 to 3 hours. So that's great. Then the third type of charger, only some cars can take it, not all cars. It's called DC, direct current fast charger. That's a very powerful charger. It's about 60 times more powerful than a wall plug. And if your car can take that kind of charge, it can charge typically 80% in 20 minutes. So it's almost a gas station experience. So that's kind of the differences in the 3 types of chargers. We have incentives for the level 2 chargers currently, because all the cars come with wall plug chargers, the level 1s. Was that helpful?
Very.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The other term I'm going to use today is low carbon fuel standard. This is a program that's implemented by the California Air Resources Board. Of course, it's part of the cap and trade program. And what it is that fuel providers who provide fuel with low carbon content, like electricity, get credits or can earn credits. And in the case of an electric utility, the electric utility by default gets all the residential charging that's done in their service territory. So we get credits just for having cars in our service territory if you opt into this program, which we have for the last few years. These credits, once you get them, can be sold, and the principal buyer are refineries because they need it for their fuel. And so this is a revenue stream for the department to help the electric vehicle program. But there are limitations on how you can use it. You can only use it for EV education and to benefit present and future EV drivers. So that would include things like discount rates or car chargers, rebate programs, used vehicle rebates, things like that, things that benefit EV drivers. So I'll be using that term off and on. Also on the commercial side, the way it works is the default credits go to the owner, but they can sign them over to people like utilities. So water power has a lot of commercial chargers. which can be in the program as well and earn additional credits.
Can I ask that a question
Yes,
on
sir.
that? How do you keep track of the use of electric vehicle chargers if they're not separately metered?
What CARB does is, the California Air Resources Board, every year, they ask all the utilities if you have any information on how the chargers are being used. And we have a couple thousand customers that have chargers directly on the cars. So we can turn in that data and say, typically, in our service territory, these cars take this much power. Then they go to all the sources they can find to figure out how many cars are in your service territory, multiply it by a factor, and then give you the credits based on that factor.
I guess what I meant was, how does that factor in? So you're not using usage data for electricity at all?
We are. We do have about 2,000 cars that have a meter on them, an electric meter, a water and power meter.
So that's a meter at the registered
home.
car owner's home?
That's correct.
Okay, but not every, but there are
No, that's-
27,000 registered car owners.
Yeah.
From what I heard, that means there are 25,000
That don't have
registered
meters.
car owners that do not have meters at home.
That's correct.
including me.
So CARB takes the information we did give them for the 2,000 we do know about and just extrapolates it to the other 25,000. So they crunch the numbers on that.
Thanks.
Okay, so if you were to summarize our EV business plan on one page, this is it. And I'm not going to dwell too much time on this, except to say these are the 6 categories. Education and outreach, which we talked about, was so important. The LA City fleet, the mayor came out with a sustainability plan, so 50% of all the new light-duty cars that the departments buy have to be battery electric vehicles. And our estimate, based on the purchase rates, historical purchase rates, is that in 5 years we'll have about 1,600 electric vehicles in the city fleet overall. Residential charging, of course, is big. That's where most of the charging happens. City-owned chargers, I'll be talking about that moving forward. Commercial charging, that's for our customers, and medium and heavy duty, which includes buses and other heavy-duty vehicles. So the foundations of our program. These are kind of like our guiding principles. The program is unique because all customers can participate, whether you're buying new cars or used cars, or even if you don't have a car. If you just drive the bus, there's something in it for everybody. To the extent that we are installing a lot of city infrastructure, when we have our 4,000 charger goal, we have complete latitude on where those go. Obviously, it has to be equitable, including disadvantaged neighborhoods. Additionally, about 54% of the people in LA are in multifamily dwellings, so we've got to have something for them. So that's where the previous speakers said places like workplace charging is important, and our rebates help with that. DC fast charging, having public charging available, the city charging as well, for those that can't charge at home. And of course, Water and Power is also participating in the city's low-income car sharing program. In the rebate programs that the board approved, you did set aside some funding for that program, and they're rolling it out now. It's called Blue LA. And they're installing 200 curbside chargers in this program, and they'll have 100 cars, and they're starting off in the Koreatown area. So these are short-term car rentals that people can use when they don't have a car. Also, charging hubs. This is really gaining some steam behind it. There are a lot of bus companies that are getting buses. Metro just bought 100 buses, 40 of them for the Orange Line in the San Fernando Valley, and 60 of them for the Silver Line. LADOT has purchased 4 electric buses and dash buses, and one of them runs right in front of our building here. They're going to be buying more. And so there are a lot of bus companies that come into LA. In fact, there's about 41 bus companies that if they were electric, they could probably get here, but they can't get back. People like Foothill Transit, Antelope Valley have very aggressive goals in there. So the idea is perhaps working with the mayor's office on starting off with a lot that'll have it's an LADOT property that would have a lot of chargers that outside bus companies could come in and use, so they could come in electric and go back electric instead of just doing their own particular area.
I'm almost embarrassed to ask this question because it is so ignorant that I have to, because hopefully there's other people who want to know the answer as well. But how do you monitor having such few chargers, for instance, in a multi-unit apartment complex? And let's say somebody says, hey, I want to plug in my car, and falls asleep and then takes that space overnight when there's other people who'd like to charge their cars. Does it work that the person who's charging their car puts in a credit card and is being charged by the hour, or do we take onus of that, of paying for that electricity? I honestly don't know the technicalities of how that works and how you monitor, whether it's an office building where somebody gets lazy and says, I know that my car is charged now, but I'm kind of busy right now, and doesn't open that space. Could you explain that to me?
Sure. Are you talking about an apartment building or like an office setting?
I'd like both. How do you
Okay.
how do you open up space for everyone who needs the few
Right.
chargers that exist that we are expanding?
Yeah, they call that charging etiquette. There's a bunch of different solutions out there, and I'll give you an example of this building right here. We actually have more employees than we have parking spaces, and so there was a big fear when we started added charging that people would be circling and there'd be empty EV charging spaces there. So here we did two things. One is we put in EV chargers, and they were just anyone could park there, gas or electric. Fortunately, people, if they weren't driving electric, are very courteous and aren't charging, typically parking there. But, so that's kind of just sort of the honor system. And then as the CARS office saw that more people were getting electrics and there was no chance of a space sitting empty, they started designating spaces just for EV, knowing that there was no downside to it. Secondly, in our customer parking lot, we have 24 chargers for the public to use, and actually employees can use it too, but it's under the same rules as it's a paid parking lot. So you get 4 hours of free charging to begin with, and if your ticket says you were there longer than 4 hours, you got to pay the full tilt on the parking fees.
And does traffic? What's when you get a ticket? Traffic? Is it like?
DOT.
Yeah. Are they trafficking that, or who's monitoring that? Who's ticketing?
That would be for like street parking or that's. They haven't passed any laws yet as far as enforcement for that. There are signs, LA DOT signs on how long you can park there and so on, but it's currently not enforced. There's the mayor's office is leading a charge to put some structure behind that.
Okay, but right now, it's for the most part, it's on the honor system.
Yeah, there are, however, more sophisticated systems where people can pay for usage and things like that. They're typically obviously more expensive, not only equipment-wise, but also the back office you have to pay for on a continual basis.
Okay.
There's also building owners if you have a large enough multifamily, the demand of the tenants will drive the apartment owner, or the multifamily housing owner, to monitor it. And I'll give you an example. I parked overnight at City Hall from about 9 at night till 6 in the morning. And there were half the EV spaces were open, but when I got there at 6 in the morning, I got the don't hog the electric vehicle space. So there's somebody monitoring even in the middle of the night to make sure I wasn't going to park there too long. And
that was that really was my question. Thank you.
There's a lot of self-monitoring as well.
Okay.
Education outreach is one of our important elements. With all these initiatives and these goals, 10,000, 4,000, all that, we're developing a dashboard that we can put on our website for external customers and internal to see exactly how we're progressing on this thing. That's very important. Also, we're expanding the frequency of presentations and other events with our customers and so on. We just wrapped up the event at this last weekend at National Drive Electric Week. There was one in Watts and one at the LA State Historic Park. Very successful events. We've done 3 drive events with customers this past year. Our goal will be 4 moving forward. And also, we're working with Edison and the other municipal utilities on a car dealer program. There's a lot of turnover in car dealers. They often don't know the business case of why would they want to sell cars. It's easier to sell a gas car. But we're working with Plug in America on developing a program similar to what's going on in San Diego and in Boston, where they take car dealers under their wings and teach them basically a business case to sell cars. And then there's a customer-facing part to it, which help equip people that go into dealerships to know ask the right questions. So hopefully we can get the customers educated and the dealers up to snuff, and to get them together and we'll sell some cars. Additionally, the CARS office downstairs would like to try an EV carpool program. They say it's easier to fill up a car than a van, and the vans are actually a lot more expensive than the cars. So they want to give that a try as well in this building.
residential EV charging, our current rebate program, we're offering up to $500 for a level 2 charger. That's a good quality 240-volt charger. We've done almost 3,000 rebates since we started the program. Additionally, we're investigating, looking at a new program. I told you the important thing is have a lot of cars charging at the right time. Department of Water and Power has an EV discount. We actually developed that in the 90s. We were one of the first utilities to do that. But to get that discount, you have to set up a separate service for the car and rewire your house. And it's a lot of money and time and expense to do. So the uptake isn't too big on that. But there is a new generation of chargers that have metering and communications. So we're looking to see if there's an opportunity to take this charger and give the incentive an enhanced incentive because they're a little more expensive, and then people can opt in to share their charging data. If we can see when they charged off peak, we could send them a check just like your credit card, your rewards card and your credit card once a year and say, hey, we recognize you charged this much off peak. Here's a check to help reduce the cost of that fuel. So that's a program we're investigating, and it shows a lot of promise, and it would be funded through LCFS. Additionally, we're looking into offering a used EV car rebate. This is for either purchased or leased. It'd be a one-time campaign for $450 up to 2,000 cars, and we're going to see just what we learn from that. It'd be a great learning experience. And 6 years ago, there wasn't even an EV market, and it's just coming into shape right now. So I think the time is now to try to see if we can do something with that, because that's another opportunity that's just golden to get cars in people's hands.
To put it in perspective, though, for instance, the $500 rebate on a 240V charger, what's the cost of the charger?
About $500.
So
you can get it cheaper, but you can get a very quality charger for $500.
Okay. Well, that's a good rebate.
Yeah.
Excuse me, Marvin.
Yes, sir.
On the rebates, I brought up the point, two things. One, the first relates to not getting ourselves into the position we got with our solar program, where the solar rebates, as well-intentioned as they were, wound up going to people that could afford to front the money and get the rebate,
right,
and or credit or whatever it is. Are we doing anything in designing our rebates to make buckets? I've talked to the people in the Ratepayer Advocate's Office and others about possibly geospatially designing the rebates so that there's a, if a certain area uses them up, the market will push them into other areas because those rebates won't be used up. One, are you considering that? And two, is there any effort that's being made to address some of the concerns earlier about fronting any of these costs so that the users don't have to go through the process of applying for a rebate and waiting for?
Yeah. With regards to our residential rebates, when we changed the program, we included used cars because we recognize a lot of those cars will be in perhaps people that don't buy new cars. So that helped expand the program as well. As far as zip code rebates, we don't have an opinion on that one yet. We're still looking into it.
I just don't want to find ourselves in a position where we do our data dive on this in 6 or 12 months and we find out that the rebates ended up going all to my zip code or the zip codes of most of the other commissioners on this commission instead of other zip codes. It's just, I mean, the mayor has said your zip code shouldn't determine your life expectancy. He said your zip code shouldn't determine a lot of things. And I would just like to do more than just study this. I'd like to make sure that it's included as part of this rollout. I just don't think that it's, I'd like to see that not repeated.
Okay, understood. Okay, city-owned infrastructure, again, that's part of the 4,000 goal. Last year, we did 183 chargers, level 2 chargers on 29 non-DWP city properties. That included the police department, the libraries, LEX, some general service lots. And we hit upon a model that has some great promise. We have agreements with these departments where it's very easy to, we found that if you can package everything up, the money, the chargers, the installation, everything, and it's just a matter of sign on the bottom line, almost like a direct install program, you can get a lot done. And so we got those 183 chargers done partly with our rebate program, partly with a grant, and then the other city departments used the SCAPA contractors as their contractor to get the stuff installed, except for the airport, which did it themselves. But it provided great flexibility, and that model is repeatable. We can continue using that, and we have goals for this year and the next 5 years of 200 a year using that model, which we've hit upon. Secondly, is curbside chargers. We've done a couple installations on that. The Bureau of Street Lighting actually has 83 of them installed now. So our goal for this year will be 50 of those, and then 200 per year for the following 4 years. And DC fast chargers. There are actually very few chargers in LA. There's about 65, which is not very good. It's not very much. But we've installed 16 of those to date, and we're installing 2 of them right now at our Crenshaw Payment Center. And we install, of course, to install those on a regular basis moving forward. The technology on that is changing as well, but it's a great opportunity for our apartment dwellers and those that have charging difficulties at home. Here's a couple of pictures of various charging installations. There's a DC fast charger in the middle. The lower right corner is our first pole-mounted charger in Watts. There's some very good-looking people there. So anyway, that's just some illustrated pictures. Commercial charging. This is where the big opportunity is. We're offering currently 4,000.
Excuse me, Marvin. How many DC fast chargers are you aware of are in the valley?
In the valley?
Yeah. Do you know that?
I don't know the number, sir.
Or if I'm interested in knowing that in particular, because I think that I've heard that at meetings that I've been to in Valley, and I'm just interested in knowing that.
I'll find out for you, sir. Okay. All right, commercial charging. Here's one of the enhancements that we're looking to, that we're pursuing, and that would be front-funding rebates for nonprofits and agencies. Like one of the speakers said, it's very tough for these folks to front, $60,000, $80,000 and then get them to get the money back after they've done a project. So as long as we got our downside covered, this is probably an excellent opportunity. Secondly, I mentioned the DC fast charging hubs. In addition to the buses, there's also shared mobility like Uber and Lyft and Maven and those companies, which are actually electric taxi fleets. We found that those people were big users of our DC fast charging, and they have some challenges getting the charging in place for their initiatives. So there's an opportunity there. Also, I talked about direct install that we're doing for our city departments where they utilize the SCAPA contractors. That might have some opportunity for some other customers down the road as well. Medium and heavy duty. Like I said before, this is exploding with all the buses that are coming in on board. Actually, the board approved a heavy duty rebate when we did the program, but we didn't define the amount because we didn't have any use cases to actually gauge what that is. So that's being developed right now, what the actual rebate is for medium and heavy duty. And again, our strategy on this one is whenever someone puts in a big service, most utilities have a fund of money to help with service planning. It doesn't cover everything, but it's a good chunk of money to help get the service established. We have our rebates for behind the meter. We have service planning on our side of the meter, but there's a gap. And so we see LCFS as an opportunity to fill that gap, to greatly reduce the cost to get this heavy-duty infrastructure installed. Additionally, we have some really good rates right now. Being the fuel provider, we have to make sure our costs are competitive with gasoline and diesel and natural gas. Our large industrial rate is really good. They don't have a monthly service charge for monthly demand charge for off-peak usage. But one thing we need to do is develop a new rate. I call it the anytime rate. There's buses, for example, there's one strategy where the buses charge all the time. They do a loop and they charge, they do a loop and they charge. And our rates are not as competitive for that kind of pattern. So I'm working with the rates manager to see if we can do something similar to what we did with shifts that come in and charge and then leave for a long time and come back. That's, so we'll see where we go with that. This is a summary of our how we envision the infrastructure rolling out, both customer-owned and city-owned, to get to our 10,000 goal. Kind of grows as the number of vehicles grows. And that concludes my presentation.
I wanted to add some closing comments if I could. This is essentially one of the most important efforts to me that I can make as a general manager. I see this essentially as a legacy item that it's so important to me. It's part of my vision of how I'd like to see California move. And I'd like to explain for just a couple moments why I feel so strongly about this effort. California's regulated the power utilities for the last 20 years. Well, they've regulated them forever, but really moved towards greenhouse gas reductions, increased renewable energy, and the things we should be doing both in Los Angeles and California because we can. We are able to regulate ourselves when it comes to what's called stationary power sources or greenhouse gas emission stationary items, meaning a power plant. But California can't regulate transportation. The transportation sector is primarily regulated on a federal basis. And so neither LA or California can really do it. And we've really been successful with power plants and regulating the power industry to the point of now we're arguing, can we get to all renewables in 2045 versus 2050? You know, all the major efforts are there. And now I don't mean to minimize this, but it's nuances that we're discussing and things that are very important, but the bandwidth is now here instead of here. We've seen the early adopters with electric vehicles and how that has helped, but I've always looked at how do you get essentially the masses to adopt change and significant change, and we've seen a lot of that with conservation programs and energy efficiency programs, but how do we truly get the bulk of our customers to look at moving away from fossil fuel vehicles to electric vehicles? My perfect world is in 2050 when we are supposed to be at 100% renewables in California. Not only is that to power our homes, but we're at 100% renewable, zero greenhouse gases, to not just power all of the buildings and other facilities, but literally to power the entire fleet of vehicles in California and hopefully the nation. And frankly, I've heard the comment we have about 1 out of 6 vehicles in the nation in California. I haven't fact checked that, but I know it's probably not that far off. And I look at how do we incentivize kind of the mid-range and late adopters to get an electric vehicle and help with the significant reduction of greenhouse gas emissions. And to me, it isn't you buy a vehicle and then you get a charger. It's you put chargers throughout the whole of this state so nobody ever has to worry about charging the vehicle. I mean, raise your hand if you love filling up your car with gas. I mean, nobody likes to do that. And so if you go shopping or you go anywhere, the theater, movie theater, whatever, you just plug in your vehicle because there's chargers everywhere and you come out and it's charged. You now have one less worry you have to make it. And that's how I think we get it to the next stage. As a native Californian, I remember growing up with local smog alerts. And while there's the tremendous benefits to reduce greenhouse gases from a global standpoint, what's really fantastic with this kind of effort is we also reduce the local emissions. This meets the goals of environmental justice. It meets the equity goals. We've got a transition, and Marv's laid out really the first efforts and a great effort at that. But we're going to need a lot of refinement, a lot of moving forward, a lot of review, the performance metrics, the equity metrics, that will come. We've just got to really focus on getting these in, getting these chargers in, so again we can move to the used car market, the across the board market, the fast chargers, the Uber market, the heavy duty. And in fact, LA can't do this alone, so we're just starting to talk with the largest investor-owned and publicly owned utilities so that we can perform kind of an effort at a statewide level by all the largest utilities going to Sacramento and saying, if we're going to get from here to there, you got to help us, and you got to help both the utilities and the individual ratepayers to get there. But this is an area we can't regulate as much, but we can sure incentivize. And I believe creating those incentives are what we need to significantly move electric vehicles forward and all the benefits to the environment, both globally and locally, that we can get. So this is so important to me, and I really appreciate Marv and his staff for everything they've done, and want to significantly increase this. So thank you.
Very, very eloquently and well said. Thank you. Marvin, thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Excellent report. Excellent work.
Thank
Okay, folks, now we're going to see whether we can get through enough of this so that Jill can actually have lunch before she has to leave for her funeral. Monthly reports. Office of the Chief Administrative Officer, July. And August.
Thank you. There are 2 reports included in the packet. I did want to highlight an excellent event that we held here at JFB on the A level on August 24th. We had our vendor fair. We had a great turnout, over 500 people, as well as 50 staff. It was the theme was transforming connectivity, and we looked at connecting all the representatives who make up the supply chain. So the vendors, the contractors, the small vendors, the executives, staff. We had networking, we had some booths, we had discussions and training on various aspects of the supply chain process. We also were very thankful to have Commissioner Noonan and Funderburk present our Contractor of the Year Awards, which was very well received. We had 47 exhibitors at a booth, great turnout, great food in the courtyard. It was a little warm that night, but it was a great event, and Gwen Williams and her staff did a great job of putting it on. And there is a full report that we'll be passing out about the event to you. So
great.
I wanted to thank you for that.
No, I personally want to thank you for creating this as the first annual conference that we get together. I agree with you. I think that there was such collaboration and synergy being felt that day amongst not only the vendors and their optimism to work more closely with us. And so I really appreciate you opening the audience for competitive bidding in our procurement process and making it equitable for everyone involved and who participated. And hopefully it'll get bigger and bigger every year. Thank you.
Congratulations. It's great. Any questions? Okay. Power System and RPS, July.
Both our July Power System monthly report and RPS monthly report are in your packages, and I'll be happy to answer any questions.
Any questions? None. Thank you. Water, March and April.
Ditto.
Questions? Hearing none. Yvette, discussion with neighborhood council representatives on any neighborhood council resolution or community impact statement filed with the city clerk which relate to any agenda item listed or being considered on this agenda for the Water and Power Board.
No community impact statements or formal positions were filed by any neighborhood councils on the items on today's agenda.
Okay, approval of the regular board meeting minutes of August 15th. Commissioners Levine, Funderburk, Barad, and Vasquez present. Is there a motion to approve these minutes? So move. Is there a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Okay. Sounds unanimous to me. They're approved.
Yes.
Okay, on agenda items, starting with item 11 through item 25. Do any commissioners wish to remove any of those agenda items from the consent agenda? Hearing none, is there a motion to approve all of those items?
So moved.
Second, those in favor?
Aye.
They are approved. Counselor?
At this point, we will recess in a closed session, and in accordance with California Government Code Section 54957.1, will report any reportable actions.
We will recess into executive session. Thank you.